Rejuvenate, restore, refresh, and heal. At Fantuzzo Acupuncture, we seek to help achieve effective health and wellness in an elegant spa-like atmosphere. Fantuzzo Acupuncture specializes in traditional acupuncture, cosmetic anti-aging acupuncture, acupressure, cupping, CBD topical creams, and more. Approach healthcare holistically. Visit FantuzzoAcupuncture.com to book online today. FantuzzoAcupuncture.com.
From attic to basement, we're here for you. It's quality service in all we do. Call Taylor. 500 help.
That's right, Taylor. 500 help. He set us up here at the We the People Podcast Network, made it so that we were nice and cool and comfortable in these hot August, the August month of hotness here in Rochester. So I'll tell you what, Taylor, 500 help. They do it all for you. They do duct cleaning, they do air conditioning, they do heating, plumbing, home energy. They have comprehensive maintenance plans. Of course, since 1947, Taylor Heating and Plumbing and Bradford White Water Heaters have been the most reliable source for all your plumbing, heating, air conditioning needs. So they have same-day service. They have upfront pricing. You can be assured always that help is on the way with Taylor, 500 help. If you're looking for a job and your experience in HVAC, they're looking for techs, they're looking for plumbers, they're looking for project managers and office personnel. So make sure you reach out to Taylor 500 help for air conditioning and all of your needs as it pertains to that kind of stuff. And Precision Lawn and Garden, when you want the best lawn in the area, 195 North Avenue in Webster, open weekdays 8 to 5 and Saturday 9 to noon. Precision Lawn and Garden has been providing Rochester and the surrounding areas professional sales, service, and parts since 1969. You want the big daddy of all lawnmowers? You can find it at Precision Lawn and Garden. You want a big old chainsaw to take down a couple of trees? You can find it at Precision Lawn and Garden. Lawnmowers, new models, on sale models, all steel products, Cub Cadet, Ferris, and Toro. Precision Lawn and Garden. And sponsor of, if you want your driveway to look good, Express Sealers, because your curb appeal is pretty important in your neighborhood, and that's what Express Sealers does. They make your sealed driveway look fantastic. Call Express Sealers. They're not one of those fly-by-night companies, not one of those door knocker sealing companies. Protect your investment. They power trim your edges. They treat grease spots. Thick, professional, hand-applied commercial-grade seal coat. Make sure you call Express Sealers today, 645-2010. That's 645-2010. Make sure that you support our sponsors because they support us here at We the People Podcast Network.
Live from the We the People broadcast studios in partly cloudy 79-degree Irondequoit, New York.
Woo!
It's National Joke Day.
Oh, boy.
She's no joke.
I am not.
She's the only truth-telling media personality that's left.
What?
It's Kimberly Ray.
Hello. Hey, welcome to Kimberly's Revolution and the We the People Podcast Network. I have headphones on today because I can't find my earbuds.
Sexy.
They're somewhere. I know. I feel like I have a giant, a balloon on my head. I have not used to wearing these anymore. I've been wearing the earbuds for so long. But anyway.
Welcome to the Nerd Squad.
I thank you for joining us here at Kimberly's Revolution and the We the People Podcast Network. I'm here with Tom Morgan, who is with Revere Realty. He is owner and appraiser for Revere Realty. I am a podcaster, recovering radio addict, and just a real estate agent. And not just, I closed on several deals last week.
Top notch.
Very excited about that. The for sale signs are gone in the yard.
Cash money.
The combination locks are gone from the front door. So congratulations to those people who trusted me with the sale of their house. And I appreciate them so much. So they know who they are. No need for me to say. And of course, if you're looking to build a house, I've got a great house that is in the process of being built. The lot is already cleared. The basement has already been poured. It's a Grease Town. It's Hilton School District. It's a ranch home, 1,866 square feet. So if you're looking for someone that wants to build a ranch home, which they're almost impossible to get. So you want to make sure that, what is that feedback? Oh, there we go. And Austin's here. So if you are looking to build a ranch home, make sure that you reach out to us here at Revere Realty. Hi to everyone. Hey, Stacy is in Texas. What are you doing in Texas, Stacy? And Laura, happy Monday to you guys. And Joy and Kevin, it's all of the, names I can see so far, of course, in the mirror of a romper room. So
Happy Monday.
Chad is on vacation. He'll be gone for the next 2 weeks, right?
Thank God.
So he's taking a little tour. They're doing some stuff heading down to Myrtle Beach. Thanks to Austin, who is here in studio with us.
Hello.
And of course, we want to thank Fitz at Rockvox Productions, Rockvox Productions, for all of your podcasting needs. He has your setup if you're a corporation or if you're just a bunch of friends getting together and you think, hey, we're pretty interesting, we got some things to say. Fitz at Rockvox Productions can make it happen for you. And he also is in the movie making business.
He is.
So, which is kind of fun. So, yeah, we make movies here in Rochester. Who knew? We have a special guest in studio today. His name is Rodney Miller, and I've known Rodney for about 11 years. Well, not quite 11, maybe 10 years. How are you, Rodney?
I'm good.
Thank you. It is good to have you in studio.
Welcome to the show, Rodney.
Welcome to Kimberly's Revolution.
You made it.
You made it.
It's the big time.
All the way from Ontario County.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I wanted to
Up
say,
to the big city.
now where do you live?
Lake to Lake Roads.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Know it
outside
well.
the Village of Gorham.
So you live in the village of Gorham. And
I live on the outskirts of the village.
you live okay.
Is it a village or is it a hamlet?
They called it. the Village of Gorham.
All right. I asked you just to get right up on the microphone there. We won't bite. We promise. I reached out to Rodney because it was back in 2012 that I'm trying to remember who came out to see me when I was doing a live broadcast at the Naples Grape Festival.
I think it was Jessica, if I remember right.
It was Jessica and some of her friends
Yes.
from where Adam Chase worked, right? He worked at a factory in Ontario County. I don't remember the name of it, but I think it was like a gun, ammunition or
No,
something.
That was her.
The Remington?
She worked at the one in Bloomfield.
Gun
Yeah,
lock,
the one
right?
on 5 and 20.
No, not Gunlock.
No.
Crossman
Remington
Arms.
or something?
Crossman Arms.
Crossman. Okay.
Yes, Crossman. There you
So
go.
she worked there. And I remember that day, she came up, she said, "Hi, I want to introduce myself. My name's Jessica, and my brother's been missing since June, and no one will cover the story. Will you and Beck talk about it?" And she said, "Because things aren't right. We don't think he's missing. We think his wife did something to him, and no one will help us look for him. The media won't cover anything. And it's been months, and we still, of course he disappeared in June, and they reached out to me. It was, I think the Grape Fest is always the last weekend in September. And so they reached out to me. And then that following Monday, we had talked about it on the air. I mean, and honestly, there wasn't a news story about it. There was, I think, one news story. Ontario County Police are searching for a missing man, Adam Chase, 31 years old, last seen on June 12th. And that was the end of the story. There was nothing else, no follow-up story. There was really nothing. So, I mean, someone had reached out. I think, Tom, you had put something on our We the People Podcast Network Facebook page and said, and by the way, we're live on YouTube. And I know you had asked me, Rodney, how people could, watch us. You can subscribe for free on YouTube and watch us live. And we're also on the We the People Podcast Network Facebook page. I know Rodney was like, it's complicated. I'm like, I know it
Kimberly
is.
still hasn't
It
figured
is.
it out,
It is.
Rodney. Don't worry about it.
It is complicated well, no, I mean, there's a lot of, of hoops to jump
We're
through.
everywhere.
But yeah. Oh, Elaine's listening from eBay. Oh, just cracked your first Corona. Well, you're going to like this story. I don't know if any of our listeners remember this story, but it was a crazy, gruesome, grisly story that unfortunately for the Chase family did not turn out the way any of them had hoped. I mean, I think that they were all hoping that maybe Adam just kind of took a break, that Adam Chase's marriage wasn't good, that Adam Chase's marriage was falling apart, that they were struggling like many, couples do. They had a 4-year-old, they had lives. They, were both trying to work. They were both trying to get through their marriage. There were rumors of infidelity that turned out not just to be rumors. They turned out to be, true stories of infidelity. And maybe he just needed a break from the whole thing and walked out of the house one day. That turned out not to be true. unfortunately. And that's when Rodney Miller, that's when you entered the picture. So tell us a little bit about yourself. You were a private investigator. Do you still do any private investigator work?
No,
No.
not anymore.
Not anymore. So you were a former, you used to work for the sheriff's department.
I did
And then you worked for the sheriff's department for how many years?
6.
For 6 years. And you got out of that.
I didn't get out. They fired me.
Oh, they fired
you. It's no secret.
They fired you. Why did they fire you?
I wouldn't trade shifts with a drunk, to be honest.
You wouldn't.
So they said I was incompetent, and the arbitrator upheld it. I don't hold in any of my. I can't undo what's done.
You can't.
I don't live in the past.
Yeah.
I proved I was a good cop.
You are
with nothing.
Right. And I think you are a good cop. And so what did you do after you were with the sheriff's department?
Oh, I worked up in Rochester for several years, and then I went into my own business, which I still do.
And you knew the Chase family pretty well, right?
I've known that family, Lyndon, for years, and his father I also knew too.
And is it my understanding that Adam Chase's father just died recently?
He died in 18.
He died in 2018. We are sending our thoughts out to the family that has endured so much tragedy, and with the disappearance of Adam, and then of course with the death of Lyndon Chase. I can imagine that Sylvia Chase must be one strong lady, and I know she's got her family, her daughters to support.
Great family.
And it's my understanding that the child of Rose Chase and Adam Chase is being brought up by Sylvia.
Yes.
And I'm sure she gets family support
Yes, she does.
from everyone.
Yes.
Carol says that was one whacked out story with Rose Chase. Why the police and media never followed through on anything until you guys reported it absolutely amazes me. It's a good thing Rodney was on it. And it is a good thing that you were on it because, again, I think Jessica and her friends came out that day specifically to talk to me because they were at wit's end.
Why? I remember when they called me after they had a conversation with you, and they want to know if I would call you. And I didn't really have enough to say what I wanted to say. And then I think it was you or Beck called me.
Yeah, I did.
And asked me if I would come. It was after Rose's mother had made Looney Tooney, as we nicknamed her, comment on the air about the Chase family. And that kind of really got under my skin.
Yeah, Rose Chase's mother had called the show, and we'll get that. I tried to look for that audio, and I cannot find it. Of course, everything from when we were with the morning show at the time at the other radio station became their property, and I have no idea what they did with that property. But Rose Chase's mother, Patricia Mooney, had called and had just made. It was probably, of all of the phone calls I've ever had in all my years of radio, one of the eeriest, creepiest phone calls I've ever had with anyone. And I mean, that says a lot. Over the years, you talk to a zillion people on the air. But that morning, she left me with the willies. I mean, it was a pretty wild story. So
it sounds like that she would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
Yeah, exactly. With us,
she would have got away with it if it wasn't for Adam's family.
She would have.
They did not give up.
And really, when you had talked to the sheriff there in Ontario County, he had told you what at the very end?
I actually talked to the sheriff before the end of the case. Twice I sat on his porch with what I felt and knew, and he ignored me. Some things were said off the record. We'll leave them at that.
Yeah.
In the end, when I did find him, he did call me, asked me not to talk to the media. Going to be a major
shocker
investigation or whatever.
Sure.
And I told him I didn't have to talk to the media. I wanted to talk to him. I want to know why he didn't listen to me.
Yeah. And he said, what did he say to you?
He actually said he thought he'd be home by Christmas.
And unfortunately, he was home by Christmas, but not the way the Chase family wanted Adam Chase. So let's go back to the beginning. So Adam Chase is 31 years old at the time. June, I do believe it was June
Flag Day
12th, June 12th or June 14th?
I think it was June 12th. That he
June
went.
12th was the last day that anyone saw Adam Chase alive.
I think the missing report was taken on
on the 14th.
On the
I
14th.
On the
believe so.
14th. That's the day that
It was
Sylvia
a Friday.
was. Yeah. So what happened is apparently Rose Chase had been spotted in Canandaigua at a park messing around with some dude, which was pretty common for Rose Chase.
There was a picture taken of that was given to the Chase family.
Right. Did they know that Rose Chase had been unfaithful during her marriage to Adam?
I don't know. I actually can't answer that.
Right.
Later on, I think they did because
Yeah.
Adam had at one time had gotten 2 phones and with the same number. And when she'd come home, he'd switch phones to see who she'd been chatting with. But she had numerous boyfriends. One of them actually committed suicide in the Ontario County Jail.
Is that
One
right?
of her ex-lovers.
Can we put up a picture of this? And I don't know. Here's Adam. I don't know if we have put up these pictures yet, but there's Adam Chase. That was a family picture with his sisters, I do believe, right?
Yes, yeah.
So that's a picture with his sisters. And then we have the picture of Rose Chase. This is Rose
Whoa.
Chase.
That was when she was arrested.
That was when she was arrested. If you'll notice it, she was so upset about her missing husband. She's got a giant hickey on the side of her neck. That's how much she cared about her missing, so-called missing.
She wasn't concerned about her missing husband.
Well, she knew he was dead.
The boyfriend moved in 2 days after he was gone.
Yeah. So that's Rose Chase. And I think we have another picture of her when she is possibly there. She is in court. So just an evil human being. So she had been found out again having another affair. And as the story goes, they had a fight about it. Is that how that goes, Rodney? They had a fight about it, or something happened to the tune of.
Well, while you're talking about this, Kim, you have to remember everything that came out about this is one-sided
Sure,
because Adam can't talk.
he can't.
So everything that came out as far as what the fight, the hole in the wall up the stairs and all that comes from her. It doesn't mean that Adam put it there, but
Right.
according to her, he did.
Okay.
So when you talk about that, just remember a lot of the stuff you're talking about is all one-sided.
It's all one
not
side because
two.
we don't know because unfortunately dead men don't.
None of her
talk.
boyfriends were an accomplice to any of this
I don't
that they know
know.
of.
I don't think did one, and we'll get to that in a second. Did one help move the body? I can't remember. Rodney was
No.
one. What? No
No,
boyfriends.
They could prove that.
They couldn't prove it. Okay, but I know that it was discussed that he might have
But
helped her.
he was there. He was there when he was rotting. Because again, he moved in 3 days after Adam had disappeared.
And the
So
smell
he
of
was
a dead
there
body.
all the time
Yeah.
that his body's in the basement.
I mean, just so there was some kind of argument or something happened to the point where he is killed and then pushed down the stairs and then he died. We don't really know exactly if he was dead by the time he hit the bottom of the stairs or if he was dead before he ever fell down the
Well,
stairs.
according
Do we?
to her attorney, you can't kill a dead person twice. But you didn't have a body to do an autopsy on. Again, everything is speculation.
Right.
But according to her, in her testimony, after everything got out, that come out, a lot of stuff that I didn't know till after she was arrested, but she dragged him across the house, then shoved him down the second set of stairs
Right.
and left him. She went shopping. She had better things to do.
Never called the police, never called an ambulance.
That was a Friday night.
Never called 911.
Right.
What would have happened if she just called 911 and claimed self-defense? There must have been something to the body.
She could have said they had an argument and they were up there and wrestling around. He fell down the stairs and he broke his neck or whatever, or a rib punctured his lungs and he died.
But that's not what happened.
But why panic? Why would she panic to that nature? Obviously, she knew she did something to the body that caused it to.
Caused him to die.
Yeah.
She hit the body for a reason.
Right. That's my point.
Nobody see, and again, because of the
That's my
one-sided
point.
story of how he died, because so what she said in her statement was he was at the bottom of the stairs, he peed himself, he was dead. And eventually she took her son to the babysitter and then dragged him across the floor of the house and shoved him down the second set of stairs and left him. And she had better things to do. She went shopping.
So when did the family reach out to you? I mean,
No.
the last time he was seen was on the 12th of June. That's when she said he walked out of the house with nothing, right? He didn't take his cell phone. He didn't take a car.
Well, supposedly he took a cell phone.
Oh, he's supposed.
He was
Okay.
supposedly making calls that he's here, there, whatever. But
Right.
we all know what happened to the
She
cell
was
phone.
making calls for him.
Yes.
Yes.
She was texting on
course
his
she
cell
was.
phone.
Because Adam
For
never,
him.
when he talked to his father, he never texted. He always called. See, and after he went disappearing, all
Oh.
It was only text.
few calls came in were texts.
Right. And so he was reported missing. And really, that's where the story ends. When he was reported missing to the police, did the police go over to the house where Rose
So-
Chase and Adam
supposedly-
Chase shared a home together? And they
Yes.
lived in Stanley on Mott Road.
Yeah,
I don't know if
where
you're
it is.
familiar with
Oh,
Mott
yeah.
Road.
Mhm.
Supposedly they did. Supposedly they did some looking around at other properties and stuff with tracking dogs and this and that. But that was about the brunt of it.
Did they go into the house where
My-
Rose Chase
from-
and Adam Chase lived? Because I mean, that would have been, let's see, June 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Maybe if they'd went to the house on the 15th and searched it, they definitely would have found the body of Adam Chase in the basement, correct?
On the day that they took the missing person report from Sylvia, if that officer would have went to the house that night and told him what was going on, and do you mind if we walk around the house and
Right.
see if he's here or not? He laid right at the bottom of the cellar stairs in plain sight. But instead of going and asking her if they could go through the house, they called her. They never went to the house. That was the first time they could have recovered his body.
Yeah.
He was right there in plain sight.
If she had said no, you can't. Well, then obviously that's grounds for a warrant there,
Well,
right?
you
It would have
you
been-
got to be able to convince a judge that there's something suspicious here.
Right.
And we really need to search the house,
Right.
or put it where nobody
Right.
get something where nobody's leaving until we get to get in the house.
So
I
then,
mean, it's stickier than you think, but things could have been done better.
right. And so they never walked into the you walked into the living. Did you walk into the living room?
I was later in August when she let me in the house. She took me up and showed me the hole in the wall that Adam supposedly punched when he was mad at her, and that I saw.
Could you smell anything in the house?
I did
Could
when
you-
I walked down the basement. See,
Ugh.
when I first asked her if I could come in the house, she said yes, but I can't go in the basement. And I asked her why. And when I was a youngster and
Rats.
hanging around my high
Snakes.
school
Right.
kids, we used to play out on the road and stuff. And the family that lived there when I was a youngster was friends of mine. So I knew that house. So when she took me upstairs and brought me back down, the boyfriend's sitting on the couch. And as we're walking back out of the house, I said, "Do you mind if I look down into the basement?" And she opened the door up and the basement was dry. I said, "Rose, there's no water here. Do you mind if I go down?" And she
Mhm.
was shaking and trembling like she usually did. And on the third step, my nose ran and I could smell him.
Oh
But
gosh.
I couldn't find him.
She buried him?
He was gone. She'd taken him
She'd
out.
already taken him out by then.
By that time, by the time I was in the house. But she'd taken the lights out of the back room where she'd put them. So even if you didn't, and I didn't have a flashlight at that time. So even if you would have been looking, what she'd done is she'd piled a bunch of wood and an old door on top. When she dragged them over to the corner of the basement where she'd put them for a while, she rolled them up in an old waterbed tarp. And then she went up into the backyard, and the neighbor watched her carry this big old door back down into the basement and then carry a whole bunch of rotten wood down. And what she did was she stacked that on top of them like it was a wood pile. So now this was on Saturday. After the sheriff's department had called her, she panicked. Saturday, she dragged them over to the corner, and that
And then
Saturday
put
morning brought all the stuff back down the basement. Of course, the neighbor's watching her do this, but the
So
neighbor,
so what did the neighbor tell police? Did the neighbor ever tell police, hey, you might want to look in the house?
2 weeks ago, 2 weeks after it happened, he did.
Two weeks
They-
after.
they came back to his house, the same officer that took the missing person report, and talked to him. And this neighbor said, "Why are you asking me these questions?" He said, "Well, he's missing." And the neighbor unknowingly says to him, "You ought to check the basement where she carried all that junk." that door, in the rotten wood, it says it should have went to the dump. You ought to go look where she put that stuff.
Yeah.
They never did.
It makes no sense. Who carries crap into their house?
They never took the report.
Did you hear that, Lori?
And
Stop carrying crap into the house.
And you know how I know why they never took the report? Because I had it. I took the report from Tim. That I shouldn't mention his name, but I took the report from the neighbor. They never took. If they took the report from the neighbor, it should have resulted in a search warrant.
Yeah.
It did
And
not.
that would have been the third time they would have had his body, because you got to back up a little to the day that she dragged him over in the basement, Saturday. Monday, they showed up at her house with 3 officers and 2 dogs and walked right by his body within 2 feet.
You've got to be kidding me.
No, ma'am.
And he was still in the house at that point.
Yeah.
That was at the end of June, or like a couple of days
That was just a couple of days after she killed him.
after she'd killed him.
14th, that would have been the 16th. That was a Monday.
Rose Chase was inevitably convicted of second-degree murder and tampering with evidence and child endangerment. The family the whole time, what are they doing? Are they calling police? Are they asking questions? Did they go with them to the house when they went over to Mott Road in Stanley, where Rose Chase was living? Were they there when police were there with the dogs?
Was it Chase family?
Yeah. No.
See, a lot of stuff that came out about the dog, the Timmy I don't want to mention his name.
Okay.
The neighbor's statement that I
Oops.
took. Well,
Yeah.
because he wanted to stay out of it as much as he could.
Of
And
course.
he's a high school friend again, so I don't blame him. A lot of it goes back to when the Chases were pushing for the media to get involved.
And nobody would.
Well, Phil, the sheriff would have a couple of news
Right.
places where they'd set, and Adam and my son were Boy Scouts together. They were friends, and we're taking this seriously. And,
Sheriff Poverow at the time.
yeah, and all the BS that took place, and nothing would be done. If they called and asked what's going on, there was nothing. And to go back a little in the beginning of the story, my son had posted a thing on Facebook that I found out more about things with Adam Chase, and the sheriff's department had done, and everything they'd done up to the point. And I got a phone call, and this officer told me that I should, if I knew so much, tell them what they knew. And I made a comment, I am telling your boss what I know, and you're not doing nothing with it.
Right.
So
When did you first talk to Rose?
I talked to Rose July 4th.
July. So that was the first time that you
See, Adam had been missing for a while, and I knew about a boy missing from Stanton, because Gorham doesn't have, the people who live in the village of Gorham can have 2 things, either a P.O. box or a mailbox.
Okay.
If you have a mailbox, the rural area is Stanley, New York.
Okay.
That's where the post.
Right.
Okay. So that's why when they talk about Adam was from
Stanley.
at that time he did, because he lived in Stanley on Mott Road,
Right.
but his parents lived in Gorham.
Right.
But I lost my train. of thought.
I know. I think I asked you, and I do that all the time, when you talked to her on July 4th. That was the first time that
Right. Because
you
when
had
Adam
been
went-
over to talk
when
to her.
Adam been missing for 2 weeks before I actually got involved. And then I went down to the Chase family and walked in, and Lyndon said hi to me and what's up. And I made a comment to him, I come to help you find your son.
Mhm.
He asked, well, how can you do that?
Is it my understanding that Rose, for 2 weeks after Adam Chase had disappeared, sat down and had dinner with
Absolutely.
the family every night?
Yep.
So for 2 weeks, she sat down at the dinner table,
Knowing
With-
that their son was in her house,
dead,
rotting in the basement.
rotting in the basement.
And now
I mean, if that doesn't, if that doesn't
It's a
get
different
any
level
more,
of crazy.
that's diabolical.
Yeah.
That's like a psychopath, really. When you kill someone, they're rotting in the basement, but I'm having dinner with the folks. I'm having dinner with the parents of my dead husband, whom I killed, pushed down the stairs, or whatever she did to him, and he's rotting right now in the heat of upstate New York.
But then it came to the point where she actually told the family that Tristan was not Adams. See, somewhere she had to distance herself from the family. she couldn't keep coming there knowing that Adam's in the basement.
Right.
Somehow she's got to make the family. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
The family not want to have anything to do with her.
And so that's how she did it.
So when she did that, Lyndon said, well, then what, she's not to come to this house ever again. So that's what she want. She got what she wanted.
And so I guess that's why I said, you know, did the parent, I mean, because they welcomed her in, he's missing. Did she ever physically go look for him? Did she say she had been looking for him? She said, well, he'll be back or he won't be back. Did they know that another guy had moved into the house?
Well, yeah,
She was going over and having dinner and another guy was already living at the house.
yeah. The boyfriend moved in 2 days after she killed him.
And so no one at the police department, the sheriff's department, thought that was strange when she had moved a guy in 2 days after her husband goes missing?
I take it evidently not.
Evidently not.
So what made her such the great catch down in Stanley?
Oof.
That shit that
You saw the picture.
that all the boys like the milkshakes in her yard or whatever it goes.
You saw the picture. Of
Yeah,
Rose
I
Chase.
mean, wow.
That is nothing to shake a stick at. So you talked to her the first time on July 4th, and what does she tell you?
I told her who I was and why I was there. There was like a little steps or something on one corner of the house, and that's where she sat. And she was sitting down, and I'm standing right beside her. And I knew about
Was the house well kept? Was it a nice house?
Oh no.
I mean, did it, other than the smell of death, what did it smell like? A nice, clean, fresh?
No, it was a pig pen.
It was a pig pen.
Had that musty kind of mold smell to it.
No, it was in disarray.
Yeah.
Terrible. So she was sitting there kind of shaking. She had a habit of putting her head in her hands. And I knew about the fight because of what we talked about.
Right.
With the Chase family.
With the Chase and Jessica
and what she'd made a comment of and everything else. And believe it or not, a lot of stuff came from her and Tristan, because Tristan would say, well, they're pouring fresh concrete in the basement and mommy's painting upstairs, the hallway. And a lot of the stuff came from Tristan, but a lot of it came from her also. But anyways, she sat on these steps by the back of the house, and she's actually looking right through a window into the basement where her husband was rotting at the time.
Because he was still there on July
still
4th.
there. Yes, he was.
He was there.
And I asked her if I got down right beside her face and I whispered in her ear and I said, Rose, if you accidentally shove them down the steps, it's an accident.
Right.
And he broke his neck or whatever. It's forgivable.
You said
I
that to her.
touched her and she shook like a leaf, and I thought she was going to at that time give them to me.
Right.
And just like that, she come up off the steps. She stood right in front of me, Kimberly, and she goes, he walked out of the house. I'm sorry I didn't see which way he went. Looking right in my eye to eye, I'm looking at her. And I looked right back at her and I said, I think you killed him. And I walked away. And I went right to Mr. Pavel's house, sat right on the porch right beside him, and said, I don't think he left the house. And I said that from day one, Kimberly.
Yeah.
People that knew me, where I go to Rushville, I go to Rushco it's a gas station where everybody fuels, and everybody, used to be, we sat and chat. It's kind of like a community center.
Sure. Absolutely.
And we talk about this case, and I told my friends, I'm telling you, I don't think he ever left the house.
And again, that was in July, and she did an interview with the Daily Messenger at the time. Rose says she hopes her husband will let someone know he's okay. And but what she was doing was she was physically texting, acting as if she were Adam to the family. I mean, again, she sits and has dinner with the family for 2 weeks, knowing he's rotting in her basement. She then uses his phone to pretend it's him telling everyone, hey, I'm okay. Don't worry. I just need to, get away for a while. It's, clearly it's her. She's diabolical and evil.
That part I just talked to you about, where I told her that if she accidentally pushed him down the stairs, it's an accident, whatever.
Right, sure.
Let the coroner decide what he died of or whatever. She could have given the body, but she didn't. He walked out.
She didn't.
She made the comment. To me, that was a get out of jail card free, because later on she was telling it was an accident. She wanted to say it was when the night she gave him up, when she went in and stood in front of the boyfriend and said she killed killed Adam. That was what I heard her say to her boyfriends.
Did the boyfriend not know? He
had
knew
to
that
have.
he knew that there was a dead body in the basement,
I
right?
got asked that question by the district attorney, but I have to be honest, from what I watched when I saw his reaction when she told him that she killed Adam, his jaw dropped. But how can you be in a house
And smell that.
and not smell unless you're dumber than a rock? And that we're going to leave as it is.
Right. And of
But-
course,
Or else he was more interested in something else than a dead body.
so in August, because
Good
then
point.
it goes from July to November and we hear nothing except
but-
for
but-
us talking about it on the air.
But go back to August for a minute. When she let me in the house and I went in the basement and I smelled him, again, I went to Pablo's
Was
house.
he still there or he'd already gone?
According to her and her testimony, she'd taken him out by then.
By the time you went into the
Yeah,
basement,
right.
had she poured the fresh concrete?
That was done way earlier.
Okay.
So that we always wondered after everything came about, we don't know if the sheriff's department ever went back and dug up the fresh concrete to see if that's where his jaw and teeth were, because that was never recovered. We have no idea what they did after they seized the house.
So from June 12th to August at some point, she leaves him there. In August, she decides that she's going to load him up in the, does she, and when she's trying to put him in plastic bags, a plastic bag, or she couldn't,
Garbage bag.
she couldn't get him up the stairs because why? He had been decomposing and he started to come apart. Is that the correct assumption? When she's trying to move the body? Was she doing it alone?
According to her, she did it alone.
According to her.
Because when I got, I don't want to get too far out of things that I think the public has a right to know. To go back to when she let me in the house and I walked in the basement, the boyfriend was sitting on the couch at the time we did that. When we came back up out of the basement, she walked out into the yard with me. I wanted to ask her one question. I wanted a specific answer. My comment to Rose was, what are you going to do if one of these nights Adam walks back and walks in the house and you're in bed with another man? That's a good way to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And she made the comment that I wanted. She goes, she caught herself.
He ain't coming
He
back.
ain't
yeah.
coming back.
I'm not taking it back, she said. But she started to make the comment I wanted. At that time in there, I knew without a doubt Adam Chase was dead.
Right. Because she had
In my heart,
slipped.
I knew I had no evidence to prove that.
Right.
But in my heart, I knew Adam Chase was dead.
So
I just couldn't find him.
So she takes him out of the basement in parts because he's decomposed to the point where she can't physically get him up the stairs. So she pulled him apart.
Well, make it known to the public, Adam was 6 foot something and probably weighed close to 260 pounds.
Wow.
Which is still unbelievable to me that she did it by
And
herself.
And she's what was she, 4'6" or 4'8", and maybe 120 pounds at the most.
Is it
back
the
then.
same boyfriend in August as it was in December when she finally confessed to you?
Yes.
Same boyfriend.
Same one that the photo was.
Same one from the photo in Canandaigua Park
Yes,
where
yeah,
that was
Yes.
supposedly the reason why they got in the big fight. Okay, so she drags him and then she takes him. So we're having the conversation and word is that that she'd been having all these multiple affairs and possibly that he wasn't missing, that he was dead. And I'm just taking information that the family had given to me after I had done the live broadcast at the Naples Grape Fest. So we're talking about it on the air. Where is he? Where could he be? Well, the mother lives in rural Yates County. Could he possibly be there? Rose Chase's mother, who lived in Yates County at the time, in Potter, I believe,
Yes.
called the show and said, this isn't fair. You've got the whole story wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. My daughter is innocent. Adam Chase just up and left her and the child.
Well, no, she also made the statement that the Chase family's hiding them. They took them out of state and are hiding them.
That's true. They did say that. And then, but she's slurring things and she's acting kind of crazy.
No, I'm just having coffee.
And I said to her, and then she was like, she cackles. And I said, ma'am, are you drunk? What's going on with you? Are you okay? You sound drunk. No, I'm just having coffee.
Yeah.
And the weird eerie way that she did it would make your skin crawl. The way that she was talking to us on the phone, and the fact that I don't have the audio kills me. But that whole thing is odd. So the mother, we don't know if Patty Mooney ever really knew that her daughter had brought the remains over to her property. But it's the understanding from Rose's testimony or her interview with the cops. Did she and her boyfriend put his remains in a campfire and throw whiskey on his, and toast and have a shot to his death? Was that?
If that came out, I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
I just know the night that we could go back. There's a lot of things that get missed.
Yeah.
Where I got more into it than I thought I was gonna. Her brother supposedly come up right after she killed him and walked through the basement, and he put on Facebook that your effing brother ain't there. He's telling Jessica
She's telling
and
the truth.
Becky, you're all a bunch of blah blah blah.
Did he
Things
help
that
move
were-
the body? Did the brother help move the body?
No, nobody. See,
Nobody
because
knows.
A lot of stuff was never, to our knowledge, was never followed up. So what took place after Adam was found, we don't know.
What a
because-
colossal foobar situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you don't go back over and dig up the basement to see what remains are still there,
I guess
or
they don't have the budget.
or ask the question, how did because Rose Chase isn't a big woman. How tall was she?
Said like 4'6", 4'8".
She was short.
She was
Short.
short. And he was big and tall.
Oh yeah, he was almost twice her size.
So, we don't know how many bags she used to put his remains in. Because again, he was being pulled apart. That's the state of decomposition.
Do you go with like the regular Wegmans bags, or do you get those like the hefty?
No, I
six-
think you got to get the hefty trash
you
bags
gotta-
for that, right?
You got to get the 3-ply.
Yeah. And so she puts the remains in the back of the car, and the little boy is in the back of the car as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And she transported the remains of that little boy's father in a car over to her mother's with the little boy in the car. And what did he say, the little boy, to investigators?
The car stinks.
The car
stunk.
stinks.
And mommy told me that she'd spilt things.
Is that what he said?
That was what I was told. Yeah.
This was not the Livingston County Sheriff. This was Ontario County. This
Ontario
was
and Yates.
Ontario and
His
Yates
body
County.
was recovered in Yates, and and the sheriff's Ontario picked her up.
Yeah, just real close to the microphone. So she transports the body over there. The boyfriend is with her, or does she put his body in the burn pit?
See, I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know if the boyfriend went with her when she took him to her mother's. That we don't know. If that came out in her confession, I didn't
What
read
kind of
that.
superhuman crazy strength could she have had? And her mom doesn't see her out there burning anything in the burn pile?
Well, supposedly when she was loading his torso in the back of the car, that slipped out of her hands, hit her in the crotch area, and hit her keys, and the alarm went off, and her neighbor come out and asked her if she could help her.
As she's loading up the body.
Yes. The neighbor didn't come over, but Rose just screamed, no, I'm all right.
Don't you do that at like 2 a.m. or something?
I
She
don't.
did it in broad daylight.
I don't even.
I think I think it was broad daylight.
So she takes it over. She disposes of the body in the burn pit, and that's where the remains, the bone fragments, were found.
Some,
not all.
some were found out in the field where the animals had dragged them off. They were found by the anthropologist crew, not by the sheriff's department.
Crazy.
Even at the burn site, they never did a perimeter search of the property. It's just it.
Yeah,
I-
don't you like have grandma watch the kid that day and you plan,
Supposedly the one day
she puts his son,
So-
her
one
son
day
in the
she
car.
was burning them. They were having a barbecue at her mother's. The one day she was burning them. But according to some of the neighbors in Potter, the stench, one of my friends in that area said they'd called the Yates County Sheriff's Department and said somebody's burning something in this area that stinks.
Yeah. Like human flesh,
You know,
Like-
it was a nasty smell.
like rotten human flesh.
Isn't that just a Tuesday in Yates County?
And it's unfortunate. And I mean, can you imagine being a family member having to sit in court and listen to this testimony?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
disgusting.
Well, how would you like to sit there and look at your son and all you're seeing is bones? How would you like to live with that?
I can't
How would you
even
like to live with
imagine.
that memory, Kim?
Rodney Miller is our guest. He is a private investigator that ultimately received the confession from Rose Chase that she had killed her husband, Adam Chase. This goes back to December that you got the confession of 2012. We hope that you reach out to our sponsors. Of course, Fantuzzo's Acupuncture, Precision Lawn and Garden, Taylor Heating and Cooling, and Express Sealers. They support our show here at the We the People Podcast Network and Kimberly's Revolution so that we can keep having, these conversations. But had it not been for the family's dogged pursuit of the truth, in this case, Adam Chase would be just another missing guy that never came home, and Rose Chase would have gone through however many, men,
7 or 8 more boyfriends,
and who knows how many other deaths. Because, not a normal person is able to do this
No.
and goes on and is able to live her life like nothing ever happened. I mean, normal people don't do stuff like that. I don't think it would have been her first and last murder, Rodney. I don't. So let's talk about how you got the confession from her. Go ahead. What you were going to say.
When the trial was going on, after the trial, when they were waiting for the verdict to come back in,
Mm-hmm.
I sat next to a man, and I won't, because I don't want her to have a chance to file another appeal. But I said to this man, my biggest concern is in 4 or 5 years from now, if she gets tired of her son, is he going to disappear the same way? And that man said to me, a good point.
Yeah, right. A very good point.
And that, if you get away with murder once and you found a way where you can do it, because if she'd got rid of the bones, Adam Chase would have been gone forever.
Yeah,
She'd taken everything that belonged to him in the house and burned it with him.
I mean, that's the craziest thing. That is the craziest
She
thing.
will actually get out at some point, right?
Well, she will. She's serving.
She's got to serve at least 25.
It's 24 to life.
And unless, hopefully he's leaving shortly, our illustrious governor with this COVID thing, and they were all
right.
That was our biggest fear.
They let her out for.
They would let her out.
Release half of them.
So how did you get the confession from Rose Chase? What happened? What transpired?
I ran out of options in December. Winter was coming. When the snow came, I was done. If we got lots of snow, if he was out there somewheres,
it was.
I couldn't. And I'd had a couple of girls that are psychics that had gave me some eerie information that, in the end, some of it was very true.
Really?
But it was hearsay that couldn't be allowed. But and I thank them for coming to me.
Wow.
The babysitter. Everything that resolved in this case came from family, friends, or listening to what people were telling you or was talked about. And I followed that up. The Sheriff's Department didn't care.
Didn't follow anything up.
He's going to be home by Christmas.
So you went over to Rose Chase's house and knocked on the door.
After the babysitter did what I asked her to do.
And what did the babysitter do? Tell us that story.
Well, that day I'd searched for him in the morning. That afternoon, I
went out on searches of outlying areas.
I mean, I walked Flint Creek from Gorham to Flint and Water, some days up to my neck.
Looking for him.
Because I figured, the sheriff said he committed suicide or they're going to find him in the woods or the field somewhere. So
you went looking.
If he drowned himself, he's going to be in a creek. And there's some pockets in Flint Creek that are deep, but whatever. But so that afternoon, I called the babysitter.
That came over and watched
Sandy
their son.
Lovely lady and a great friend. And and she loved Adam with all her heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, I said, would you help me? She wanted to know what I want to do. And I said, when Rose comes to get her son, I want you to tell her that you heard from some of the other sitters that they're going to charge somebody with Adam's murder in a day or two. And I said, when you tell her that, I want you to call me. And she did tell her that. but she texted me, and I don't read text.
Oh,
so,
no.
So I'm waiting, and finally I pick up the phone. I said, Sandy, did you? Yeah, didn't you get my text? I said, no, I didn't.
No.
So, but anyway, she told me, and I was ready to go. I had my coat, and away I went. I went to the house. She come out on the front porch, up on the steps, and I shined my flashlight right at her. I said, Rose, I think I got enough to charge you with murder. And she plopped right down on the steps, put her hand there, started rocking back and forth. And I walked up to her, and the good old trick I was taught by a man called James McElveen, I touched her. You take away their space and unnerves them. And I said, Rose, I've had enough. And you're never going to be at peace, and neither am I, till you tell me where you buried him. And just like this, she put her hand, I didn't bury him. Where is he? I took him to my mother's. Where? He's in the burn barrel. I said, well, all the bones won't burn. Where are the bones? In the burn barrel.
Wow.
And then I also said to her, who helped you take him out? I took him out piece by piece. And at that time,
And that's how you got the confession. So did you
Yeah.
call the sheriff's department at that point?
I mean, not at that point.
Not at that
I
point.
called Sylvia. I called
Wow.
the family first.
I can imagine that had to be the hardest.
Well, and then I called the sheriff's department, and then they met down the road because they had to get their ducks in a row what they were going to do when they got to the scene. But in the meantime, the Chase family shows up. There's some words commented back and forth. Rose was sitting in my car. I put her there to be safe. I
Right.
told her that, and I wasn't disrespectful to her. I'd taken her in. She wanted to get a coat. I let her go in. That's when she told the boyfriend. She stood right in front of him with her hands out and said, I killed Adam. I stood right at the end of the couch, not more than 5 feet from her. I know what I heard. The boyfriend testified that she said that it was an accident, but I gave her a get out of jail card when I told her if it was an accident, it was forgivable, and she didn't take it.
Yeah.
But Cantillo never brought that out at trial.
How long was the trial? Did it,
It was
go a long
several
time?
weeks.
Was that long?
2 weeks, I think, right? Or longer.
How long did the jury deliberate on it?
Not long. Couple hours, maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
It wasn't long before they
And
found
she
her
got
guilty.
manslaughter because they
No,
couldn't-
it's second degree murder.
second degree murder
They-
because they couldn't prove that.
Well,
she,
at one point we were upset because they were going to throw the other option in.
right.
But they did that so that hopefully she couldn't get an appeal and get a lesser sentence. So that was what we were
Yeah.
told.
Right in front of the microphone. I know people hate the microphone.
I know.
That makes them nervous.
Well, I know. At court, they told me I had to back away from it. 'cause
Yeah,
it
right.
It took me a
blaring.
year to figure it out, Rodney.
But
no
I mean,
problem.
here's the thing. You kept on and kept on
No, I didn't.
and kept on.
There was a point I got burned out in October, but then there was another, it was late September, October. They had another press conference that I didn't know because I very seldom watch TV anymore. I got a phone call. It was Lyndon, and he was
Adam's father.
right. He was crying, and he goes, "They effed us." I go, "What? Who?" He goes, "The sheriff's department effed us," and he's crying, and he says, "If I gotta make sure I don't." He said, why'd you quit?" He goes, you never quit when you do things." And I said, "I really didn't quit, Lyndon. I just needed to get a break."
Right.
"Well, if you don't help us, we're not going to find my son." That kicked me in gear again.
Yeah.
But
I mean-
so everybody knows I had nothing but heart. They had all the tools. They had I don't know how much of a
And
budget.
They didn't use
They
any
had
of
all
it.
the new modern technology. All they had to do was basic police work and get off their ass and walk door to door and talk to people, watch Facebook, follow up on things that were said. And if they would have done 3 things right off the bat, went to the house the night they took the report, they would have had them. That 2 days later, when they walked right by him with 2 dogs that weren't certified, according to Mr. Pavro, they should have had them.
Wow.
and then
The
2
dogs
weeks-
didn't smell bad. I don't know what the.
And then 2 weeks
know, oh
later,
my
when
goodness.
they took the report from the neighbor that they never took and would have got a certain, the sad part is the Chase family should have had their son to bury the body.
And they
We're not
didn't.
blaming the sheriff's department for Adam Chase's death.
No,
We blame
obviously.
the sheriff's department for not doing their
Certainly
job.
makes you wonder. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
it
The only
does.
thing I asked Mr. Pavro before I decided to run against him was apologize to the family. Be a man.
Did he ever apologize to
No,
the family? Never
not to my
apologized to the
knowledge.
family.
Said he didn't have
Did
to.
Rose ever apologize?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe so.
She
So
went into a wild spiel of all these things that Adam used to give her, and in her sentencing, it was well,
right.
it is what it is.
So Rose is serving currently 24 to life at the Bedford Correctional Facility. I mean, she'll be down there for probably the majority of her sentencing. I would think that they wouldn't move her closer to home until she's got only a couple of years left, and she would be moved to Albion Correctional. But she is currently doing her time at the Bedford Correctional Facility. And I know that you're in contact always with the family. And I can imagine that this is something that you never get over. But I mean, of all your life, of all the things that you've ever done in your life, this has got to be one of the most important things that you've done, right? For the family.
And
you have purpose, right? Obviously.
As being a former police, your lifelong dream is to solve a major crime or to solve something major, big.
Yeah.
But I can tell you in all honesty, I have nothing but an empty stomach.
So what are you up to now?
I still haul the plain people around. I have for 23 years. Good people, Christians.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. I have a lot of fun. I go all over the United States. So that's what I do.
Wow.
I have been a PI since that case.
That was it for you.
I thanked John Bagley used to own the company, and I thanked him for allowing me to use the license to look for Adam.
Has anybody from like Dateline or any of these shows ever reached out to you
Snap
about
did thing? Yeah.
Did one, yes.
And so again, they never found the jaw
or the teeth.
Or the teeth.
To my knowledge, that was never recovered.
Because they didn't do. They never went to the basement and tore up the basement, right?
Right.
To my knowledge, no, because they turned the house back over to the Mooney family shortly after that. See, Adam's name was not on the deed. It was her house.
Oh.
And so if she'd have been smart enough, all she had to do was throw his stuff out the window, tell him to get out.
Did they
She didn't have to kill him.
Right. Well, you always wonder why spouses, there's divorce. There's so many easier ways. Why kill?
Well, you have to go by the program that I was on. She snapped.
She snapped, of course. She snapped.
Sure.
So is the house still on Mott Road, still in the Mooney family?
No.
They sold it?
Yep.
They sold it.
So
whoever's there.
That's a nice disclosure, right?
I don't think you have to disclose that.
It's in the concrete.
But
That's a latent defect.
One of the
I would hope you wouldn't do your basement over and his jaw and teeth were there.
I know. One of the most gruesome murder cases, I think, when the information started coming out, we were mortified by the fact that a person could move a rotting human being and still go right ahead on with their life as if nothing ever happened.
One thing that come out of that case that was a kind of a plus side was that they took all missing person reports a little more serious. But I also think about the case over in Lyons or Clyde, where that lady her husband said she walked off and then they eventually found her in a snowbank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think that they did what they should have, because I believe she was in the house when they were there and he put her in the snowbank after. That's my gut feelings, and I still believe that to this day.
Well, your gut's pretty damn good, Rodney.
Well,
your gut is.
For me, my comment to law enforcement is do your job.
That's what you're there for, right?
I'm not for defunding the police or whatever. I think we have some very good agencies and good people.
Absolutely.
All I ask is do your job. It's not that hard, and sometimes you got to do legwork, and listen to people. Listening's cheap.
Yeah. Well, I know you're in contact with the Chase family, and please tell them that I think about them often. And I'm thinking about Sylvia. She's raising her grandson. Did they ever? I don't want to bring that up, but it doesn't really matter. She's raising him, and
I think Pat can have, but I think her visit has to be with a worker. I think.
So she can't. So I'm sorry. What was that again?
When Rose first got sentenced, Pat used to get partial visitation.
Oh.
But she was trying to turn him against the family. So
God.
Eventually, I think they got it where if she visits, she can see him.
But it's accompanied by someone. Yes, supervised visits. Will any of the family ever take the little boy to see his mom at Bedford?
They can't
They can't.
by court order.
Thank God.
She cannot see him until he's, I think, 18 or 21.
I mean, just sick and twisted, and so many people's lives ruined over this. But the one good thing is that there was a Rodney Miller to at least make sure that.
Sounds like the Chase family needed a guardian angel,
And you were it.
I didn't ask for it. All I asked
I
for
know you didn't.
was the sheriff's department to do their job. And that's why when I go to Mr. Pavlo's house, I tell him what I had. I wasn't hiding nothing. But when one investigator called me and said, if you know so much, tell us what you know. Then he made mind your own business. I did, but I told him never call me again. And he made a mistake. He called me after I found her and wanted to know when I was going to come in and give him a statement. And I told him never.
Never.
I gave my statement, my information to Antillo, but I wasn't given a thing because I didn't trust at that time. I didn't trust the sheriff's department.
Right. Of course. Which makes sense. That is going to do it for Kimberly's Revolution on the We the People Podcast Network. Of course, revisiting the Rose Chase murder case. She's doing 24 to life at Bedford Correctional for killing her husband, Adam Chase, back in June of 2012, again, which was one of the most gruesome cases that we'd ever talked about. And it's crazy. Some of the stories that come out of this area, it makes you wonder what's in the water and what's wrong with people, but evil persists. It's out there. I appreciate you coming up from Gorham.
Thanks, Rodney.
I thank you all for having me. It was a pleasure. Nice to see you too.
It's been a long time. I didn't even know if I would get any reply when I reached out to Rodney, but he replied almost within a couple of minutes. So I was glad of that.
So you didn't text him or email him? How did you?
I reached out on Facebook.
She messaged
me. I messaged him on Facebook.
Those I read.
I reached out on Facebook. Of course, tomorrow's Kimberly's Revolution. Same time tomorrow at 2:00.
So we're going to go over Sleepy Joe tomorrow and his issues.
We're going to go over Sleepy Joe Biden, the Afghanistan situation. You talk about foobarred mess.
Were you a military guy, Rodney?
I'm a Vietnam veteran, combat.
So give us your 2 minutes on what's happened in Afghanistan. Your thoughts.
You see those people running at the airport?
It's another Vietnam revolution. It was a place we went that we're never going to win.
Yep.
I mean, Russia got proved that. We went in there and thought we were going to clean it up. You can't clean up people that hate themselves, and all they're taught is hate. You're not born to hate. You're taught. And
they get born, and then 20 years went by. How many kids got born, raised for 10 years, 12 years, got stuck a rifle in their head and died?
Yeah, and if you take that group and they're taught to hate two people, the Jewish community and the Americans.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We're the head of the snake, and if they cut the head off, they figure the Jewish people die. But what they forget is that the Jewish people are God's chosen people.
Right.
And they're going to stay.
Exactly. It has been a real treat having you in studio.
I appreciate
it. Thank you for your service as well.
And talking about your work on the Adam Chase murder case. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow at 2.
Maybe. I'm just thinking maybe I'm not coming.
And then on Wednesday at 2, we have a downstate.
Do I always have to come, Austin?
A downstate guy
Yes.
who ran against Cuomo in 2014, almost beat him. He had all the upstate votes. That's Rob Astorino.
Right.
He is going to join us at 2:00 on Wednesday. So we look forward to that. He has a few thoughts on Cuomo. He has a few thoughts too on 2,000 Mexican immigrants that were brought into Westchester County in the last couple of days via plane. And of course, the community was not given a heads up.
No COVID there, right?
Well, the question is, who knew about it? Who's paying for it? And were they tested for COVID? Nobody knows anything, but yet those 2,000 illegal immigrants were brought into Westchester County. He, of course, is from Westchester County.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk to Rob Astorino about all that on Wednesday on the We the People Podcast Network, Kimberly's Revolution. Coming up later today is Jose Pio. Is that right?
Right.
4:00 today.
And he has a special guest, Austin. That is, what was her name again? She's, I think,
Jose
running
Pio's
for city council. He has a guest coming in today as well.
All right.
And at 6:00, Marcus Made in America again with Marcus C. Williams. So
all right,
some good programming coming up today.
It's a full slate of shows on
Mercedes Vasquez.
Oh,
And
Oh,
I
I like her.
Mercedes Vasquez Simmons.
Oh, okay.
Miss Simmons will be on the show today,
All
so look forward to hearing from her.
All right, very good. Rodney, again, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thanks
your
again,
time.
Rodney.
Coming all the way up here. And again, that's going to do it for Kimberly's Revolution. And as always, just Tom.
God bless. Be kind to others.
Rejuvenate, restore, refresh, and heal. At Fantuzzo Acupuncture, we seek to help achieve effective health and wellness in an elegant spa-like atmosphere. Fantuzzo Acupuncture specializes in traditional acupuncture, cosmetic anti-aging acupuncture, acupressure, cupping, CBD topical creams, and more. Approach healthcare holistically. Visit fantuzzoacupuncture.com to book online today. fantuzzoacupuncture.com.
From attic to basement, we're here for you. It's quality service in all we do. Call Taylor. 500 help.